Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of ETS Chalk Talk. This week's guest is a SoCal coach down in Coronado, which is probably the most beautiful place in the world. It's Coach Kurt Hines at Coronado High School. How are you doing, Coach?
Brock, I'm blessed. I appreciate you having me on.
Definitely. Do you live on Coronado Island?
No, it sounds like you may have been to Coronado before. If you have, I can afford to coach there. I cannot afford to live there. We live on the other side of the tracks. It's the other side of the bridge, but
Okay.
we're in Chula Vista. It
Okay.
takes me about 18 minutes on a Saturday morning to get to my coach's office. Depending on the other time of day, it could be 40 minutes with the California traffic. But it is a beautiful place.
Oh man, my college roommate lived next to Jim Harbaugh,
Yeah.
right at the end of the court where you're leading out to the beach. And the first time going there, I was like, this is paradise. This is magical.
It
It's
truly
so
is.
patriotic. There's American flags everywhere. Oh, I love
Well,
it.
for the people that don't know, in addition to what you shared, there's also the naval base. North Island is part of
Yep.
Coronado, so we'll be in the middle of practice sometimes or games, and you'll have these massive jets or helicopters fly over, and there's nothing more American, in my opinion, than or speaking freedom than that. So
Yeah.
it truly is a beautiful place, especially when we moved out here from New Hampshire 4 years ago, and just yesterday, May 9th, I believe it was, they had snow. So I don't miss that at all, at all.
No, no, that's so cool, man. Yeah, talk about a contrast. New Hampshire to San Diego. Well, let's just jump right into it, man. Like we were talking, you the last few years have grown quite a following and have been able to inspire and motivate a lot of people, which is really cool. And I love the way that you're able to do it. You give these short snippets, which Twitter is known for. These shorter videos. I think they only allow like 2 minutes or so in a video. Out of all of these talks that you've given, which one kind of first pops in your mind and stands out in your memory, and why?
We spoke briefly offline. I think one that gets most recognition is the one about playing favorites. But that's actually changed for me. I still stand by that fully. I still am proud, for lack of better words, of what I shared in the video. But with the times that we're in now, it really is the embracing the corner. There was a pregame
Hmm.
speech that one of my assistant coaches recorded, unbeknownst to me. Something happened just prior to that pregame talk that really got me fired up, really heated. I won't go into the details, but one of my coaches did something he should not have done ever. So, but the game had to go on. Like my team was waiting in the locker room. And the long and the short of that is talking about embracing. When we get punched in the face in life, it's easy to pack things up, or when you have an out, you know, that's okay. But when you're backed into a corner and you have nowhere else to go, that's when we find out really what we're made of. And I believe it, and it sounds, a little cliche sometimes, but now I think we're all in the same boat. With this whole
Hmm.
COVID thing, we're backed in the corner, literally and
Hmm.
figuratively, with our personal lives, our work life, recreation. And it's interesting to see how different people are responding and how we're all kind of navigating through these uncharted waters.
Yeah. It's a really unique time, and we're all trying to figure it out. Each and every day it feels different. You wake up and you're not sure, okay, what's today going to be like? And yet you're going to be at home again. So there are some things you probably are sure of. Another part of your talks that stands out is just your sign off, which has become a signature. Take it for what it's worth. I know your podcast, take it for what it's worth. What does that mean to you personally, and how did that kind of come about?
It came about just like my whole existence on Twitter, if you will, for lack of better phrases. I fought it. My wife was the one that pushed me on Twitter because I was calling her
Uh-huh.
out games, especially away games, to find standings and where other teams, fared out for the night. And once I started sharing videos, I realized that just like all of us in life, people are going to really love what we say, and some people are going to hate what we say. I can share the exact same message, and 1,000 people can see it, and 500 can love it, and 500 could think I'm arrogant or naive or a combination of both or whatever. So, when I say take it for what it's worth, for me, it's just that take it. If this can help you, take it. If this annoys you, keep scrolling. And for me, when I say stay strong, I've had some people bust my chops about that. But for me, I love it because it's something I pray for daily in my own life. where I pray for first my spiritual strength, then my mental strength and physical strength. And, God willing, each day that staying strong for me is going to help me to empower others to do the same. So the send off or sound off for my videos is just that. Take it for what it's worth, and stay strong.
Yeah. There's a sense that like you don't take yourself too seriously in all of this too. It's like this humility and understanding. Something that a lot of coaches we talked about have a hard time talking about is mental health, and it's something that a lot of student athletes struggle with. And you did a video on depression, which talking about strength can often be viewed as a weakness. What prompted you to give that word?
Several things. The first was I have two people, well, very, very close in my family that have battled with and struggled and fought through and overcome, but still it's always in the forefront of my mind, depression. So it's near and dear to my heart. I am in no stretch of the imagination an expert or someone that claims to speak on it because I have extra, knowledge, but just through my own life experiences. But when I shared that first video, I think I've shared 2 or 3 now, there seemed to be about a 2-month period of my coaching where I had 7 players come to me all in that same year. And these were players, one of them I wasn't surprised by. Because one of them just was quieter, kind of an introvert, and you kind of wonder how they were doing. 6 of the other 7 were like studs, and I'm not trying to be funny, but you and I, young men who just take care of themselves, are good athletes, popular, and it was on my heart. And each time I spoke, and obviously I'll never say names, but each time I spoke to the young men and shared with them that, hey, you have some teammates that are going through some similar things, you could see that just shocked look in their face, like, wait, I'm not the only one. And I think sometimes we think that. And I also shared, there's no shame for any of us. You can have an Olympic athlete, professional at the highest level who is diabetic or has asthma, and they never think twice about checking their insulin or using their inhalers. But for some reason, I think so many people think that with depression, a mental illness, for lack of better terms, that something's wrong with them. They should just be able to snap out of it and then just get over it, be happy. And wouldn't it be nice if it were that easy,
Yeah.
It was just something that was on my heart. And once again, going back to your question, as far as, me saying, take it for what it's worth. I hope I know there are a lot of people out there that don't like me, that just happens in life, that comes with being a coach, that comes with, really doing anything significant in any of our lives. But I hope that, without it sounding too corny, my prayer is when I put a video out there that means something to me, that it will touch one person, and if it touches one person, it helps them make it through a day, or they share it with someone else, then it's time well spent, if you ask me.
Yeah. Being liked is such a thing for humans. We want to be seen. We want to be liked. I mean, it's just human nature that no one sets out for the day and says, hey, I'm going to make a video and I hope people hate it. Like, I'm sure in seeing your heart through these videos, your aim is to encourage people and to motivate people and inspire them. It sounds like you've gone through some backlash at times. How has this shaped you the last few years? How are you different as a man? How are you different as a coach and leading your program as well?
I think I'm different, and once again, not different or better than anyone else, but just different than, as you mentioned, I was a few years ago. When I first got into teaching and coaching, I should say, but I wanted everyone to like me. I wanted to be a cool coach. And I realized that I wasn't being the coach the players needed, because I wasn't calling them out on some of their BS or some of their things they were doing, incorrectly in the weight room or in the field or in the classroom. And as I've matured as a man myself, I realized that there's a big difference between wanting to be liked and wanting to be loved, or at least in my opinion. If I want people to like me, I'm not going to say things that might ruffle their feathers, upset them. If I want them to love me, they need to know that I'm going to unconditionally love them. And in my opinion, that means calling them out when they're going down the wrong path and when they're not being a good teammate or not being showing the character they should show throughout the school or community. I've also realized over the years, I think a lot of coaches, and I'm guilty of it myself, talk about having thick skin. And the more that I've evolved myself as a person, I realize thick skin can stop us from being hurt and wounded, but also makes us hardened. And so for me, when I talk about having a strong why, it's really close to having a thick skin, but a strong why for me takes me further than not having my feathers ruffled or my feelings hurt, but continuing to go on the path that I feel called to do, and that's empowering people and living in a way that, I'm a Cowboys fan. I'm a diehard Cowboys fan, but I'm from the East Coast. Yeah, right. So all my family and friends are all Patriots fans, and the reason I say that is because you can have someone like Bill Belichick. Now, if you're really a fan of the sport, regardless of who you like, you have to respect the man, what he's done, and the cards he's been dealt, and he's had obviously Brady and a few other great players. But you can watch a game at a restaurant or a bar and hear people like you and I who have never coached at the collegiate, or professional level, saying, "Oh, he's a bum. He doesn't know what he's doing anymore. His time's up." And so I share that because as a high school football coach, I jokingly say, but there's more truth to this than not, most of the fans in the stands know better than we do come Friday night. We call a play that could have gone for a touchdown and gets intercepted. We're an idiot. They would have run the ball that time. And, if our true desire is to stay in coaching and to change as many lives as possible, we have to have a strong why. We have to be able to get through all that criticism and critique and not even block it out, but take it for what it's worth. Listen to it and then do what we want with it if it's going to help us be a better person or coach. And if it's just, slander or backlash or a parent upset because their son's not starting quarterback, but they're 320 pounds and can't touch their toes, realizing that we're doing what's best for the players and for the team.
Mm-hmm. So your why is the biggest part of you being able to see yourself in this current season and understanding amidst all the stuff you're going to hear both in the stands and on social media, your why. Can you give us an example of like maybe a situation that you've been in at Coronado, at some of your past schools, maybe in New Hampshire, where you're like, that situation with that kid or that moment with that teacher or that parent, that's my why. That's my why encapsulated into that memory.
Yeah, it's a blessing to be able to say there are countless times, going from the most touching for me as a head coach in New Hampshire. I had to coach against my own son his junior and senior year, which was heartbreaking. It was a heartbreaking experience his junior year when we killed his team, and it was a heartbreaking experience his senior year when we beat them by 1 point, only because one of the kids dropped the ball that we didn't cover well and could have been a touchdown. To speaking at a young man's funeral that my wife and I get to know really well. We painted the house with him one summer, and because of his battle with depression, he ended up taking his life. To a young man we had just this past year in Coronado whose father just passed away. It was less than 6 months after he passed away, he decided to come out for football and already has a scholarship to play baseball at the University of Arizona, but just wanted to do something his father had done. And, it's just, I think as coaches, we have a platform to change lives every single day. And if we get caught up in the X's and O's, and we have to know what we're doing, we have to know our trade. But if we focus too much on that, or if we focus and listen too much to the chatter and the noise behind us, we're not gonna bless the young men we coach as much as we can. I don't remember where I read this, but I heard it said once, if the only thing we do as coaches is make better football players, we're failing our players. And once again, it's not my own, but I love that saying because we have such a captive audience as coaches. 95% of the time, those young men and women want to be there. Sometimes they're told by the parents they have to come out for something. But we have a captive audience to really change lives. And I say that and I believe it to the core, but at the same time, in 22 years of coaching high school football, I've heard every coach say that. Every coach, as my wife and I talk about, have the interview answers. It's about fundamentals and character and helping raise better young men. And then when you really get to know those coaches, sometimes you're like, wow, I fell for it. I bought it. And you see when you lose a game or when a stud player goes down and they lose all sense of control and go crazy, I think we have such a unique platform as coaches where it's the game of football is a violent, chaotic game. We try to slow it down for our players. We try to slow it down for ourselves. But life is crazy and chaotic.
Yeah.
So there are so many correlations where if we really want to lead young men, we have to do it through example. And now is the perfect time.
Yeah. It is a huge vehicle. We know it's a way to impact, and we know all those cliche answers, like you're saying, like all the coaches know those, the ones who do them, which is the tough part, the discipline behind doing them, make the difference. And I've said this to you already. You do motivate and inspire a lot of people, and you know your why in coaching. But what's at the heart of this motivation? Was it instilled in you from like a family member, or you've been inspired by other coaches, or like what's at the heart of your motivation? Like what makes you do this each and every day?
Yeah, just a love and passion for life. You know, I really used to feel guilty about this, to be honest with you. I don't have any story of my mom and dad weren't there. I was abused and neglected, or had to move from house to house. I was raised by a loving family. Parents still alive. They're down in Florida now, but you know, middle income, blue collar in Rhode Island family. Got into a lot of trouble as a kid. I used to drink and fight all the time, and my parents never left me. They never left my side. They were always there. I was blessed to have some coaches that really cared about the players. So I lived a blessed life. You know, it's not to say I haven't had challenges and struggles and trials. That's, you know, I've got a police record to show that I've had those trials. But I just love knowing that I have the opportunity every day to make a difference. As a school teacher, I teach fourth grade. As a high school football coach, there are so many friends I've known over the years who make a lot more money than I make, a lot more. And you know, when my wife and I, when we were first raising our 4 kids and they were really young, I made $22,000 a year with 4 kids. It was tough. We had food stamps. Like, we legit, I had a college degree. I remember my wife 90% of the time, but sometimes I'd go with her to the grocery store. She doesn't allow me to go anymore because I embarrass her too much now. But we had to use food stamps my first year or two as a teacher. And I was like, what? I was talking about not having any confidence or feeling so inadequate. I was a college graduate, had my degree, teaching, and just I was making so little money, you know? So I've had my challenges. We've had our challenges. But so many people, as I mentioned, that make a lot of money just say, hey, man, I go to work every day and I don't make a difference. I wish I could make a difference. And you hear that cliche, but people saying, hey, I hope on my deathbed I can know I made a difference. I don't want to wait till my deathbed moment. You know, every day, if I do my job right, we have the opportunity to make a difference. That's my why, just to empower as many people as I can. And it's not just the people I coach. It's the people I coach with, you know, their families and the people around. And it's obviously I have a biased opinion, but there's not a better platform.
Yeah. What were the moments, like you talked about kind of being a troubled youth and then the food stamp days?
Yeah.
How did you get out of that?
Faith, really faith. I know you said a little off record, it wasn't mine. I touched on this a little bit. I loved to get drunk and I loved to fight. It was and is so naive. Met my wife, been married for 25 years now, and started to take my faith more seriously when we got married. Quit drinking, you know, and realized now after 25 years of marriage, I don't need to prove how tough I think I am. It's, by the way, I realize every year I get older, there are that many tougher people than I am.
Yeah.
But it's just knowing that there's more to life than just partying. There's more to life than, you know, it's so twisted. But I remember, I tell my players now, I didn't miss practices in high school. I didn't drink during the season, or if I did, I really was very secretive or careful with it because I didn't want to upset my coaches and teammates. And that's so backwards, because although it's great that I didn't want to disappoint them, I was putting my parents through hell, you know, with all the arrests and things like that. Yeah, it's just a realization, you know, that just life, you know, we're not guaranteed tomorrow. We weren't guaranteed today. And to have it and to realize that, you know, we're here for a reason. It's I think more people in life need to realize what true gift it is to be here.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that, man. Definitely appreciate hearing more of your story. And some people might see an image on social media of like, dude, this guy, like you're saying, maybe half the people think, man, this guy might be perfect. The other half might be thinking, oh, I don't like that, or I don't agree with that, or maybe he doesn't do that all the time, or whatever the case is. But a life changed is a beautiful thing. And yeah, you're being used for so much good, man. So keep it up when maybe you don't when you have those moments of doubt, like all humans do. 2-minute drill time. We'll start the clock, go through some fun stuff, have people get to know you a little bit more. What have you done that I should do?
Shave your head.
Shave your head. How often do you shave it? Like every day? Are you bicking it clean?
Every morning in the shower, just shave it daily. Yeah. No, something I've done that I think you should do. Well, I don't even know this yet. Are you married yet?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I would say date night every week. You know what?
Yep.
Even when my wife we're at our lowest financially, we made time for each other every week. So I know this is a rapid fire, so I'll be quick.
No, that's good. Date night, Thursday nights. Check on that one, but I like it. Best meal you've ever had?
See, this scares me because my wife's right here, so she can hear this. But it was a friend of ours cooked bone-in ribeye. It was the thickest cut, biggest. He did. It was a tomahawk ribeye. Just, I'm all about the steak. And my future son-in-law is a vegetarian, so it's a good thing.
Might be an issue.
Yeah.
Favorite song or artist you're listening to right now?
My favorite artist I'm listening to right now, I'm a big contemporary Christian. I love Jesus culture, but if I'm working out, it's AC/DC and Kill Switch Engage. So there's no rhyme or reason.
Jesus culture, maybe it's not the best pump song, but well,
they have this song. Oh, I'm drawing a blank on it now, but it's on my favorite playlist. I love it.
Awesome. Last book you read?
Last book I read, Jesus Calling is actually one. I do read a lot of coaching books, but Jesus Calling is a little daily devotional book, if you will, that I've been pulling down off the shelf a little bit every morning.
Nice. What's the best coaching book you've ever read?
Inside Out Coaching by Joe Ehrmann. Read that 3 times. He breaks it down beautifully for all sports, all levels. Have you read the book?
No.
But he talks about every coach. I'll make this real quick, but is either transactional, like a bank transaction, where the coaches who only pour into those studs because it'll make them look good, or they walk by the kid that can't put their helmet on straight, or they're transactional or transformational. Transformational, realizing that there's a bigger calling, there's a greater cause why we're here. He goes through his life story. Joe Ehrmann played for the Colts. I think it was for 13 or 15 years, and prior to that was an All-American lacrosse and football player at Syracuse University. But love that book.
Makes me think of coaches who do a good job of staying in touch with all of their players. That's a hard thing to do, but I noticed that because I coached for 5 or 6 years, staying in touch with players is a big deal. It shows you you actually care about them beyond just that time that they were helping win you games.
Yeah,
which I think some coaches can lose sight of.
Absolutely.
Favorite athlete of all time?
Favorite athlete of all time. That's what's funny. I'm going to go off the reservation here, away from football. He struggled in his personal life, but Mike Tyson. Just his relentless. There was so much about him that it was just a beautiful, violent person that. Just really, really respect, watching his history and his life and stuff. And even when he went off the deep end and where he is now, where he seemed to have found peace once again, he's one of them for me.
Yeah, there was a video that just came out with him recently, just getting after it in the gym, and you're like, "Come on, dude, how's this guy still scary?"
Years old, yeah. that man is a beast.
He is a beast, man. I was going to ask you what's the best play you've ever called, but I'm going to switch it up. Favorite game you've ever coached in?
Oh, my goodness. It was actually – so I've been blessed as a player and a coach to be in several league, division, and state championships. But there was a game back in New Hampshire when I was the head coach at Bedford where it was a street fight back and forth. And it came down to where there were 15 seconds left in the clock. We were up by 6, I believe. The other team scored touchdown with a 2-point conversion, and there were 15 seconds on the clock. And their quarterback ran by and gave us all a thumbs up. But right by our sideline. We were heated. The official either didn't see it or didn't say anything. But we marched down the clock with our racehorse offense, our no-huddle offense. At the last second, called timeout, and the ball was on I think it was like the 1-yard line, right hash. And I called a timeout, put on our field goal unit, and our kicker at the time, great young man, not a great kicker when the ball was dead center. So my entire offense looked at me and they're like, "Coach, let us run the ball. Let us run the ball." Like all of us, our hearts were in our throats, and just a second or two on the clock. We ended up scoring and winning that game with a QB sneak. That was a moment I'll never forget. It was just
Yeah.
It was also one of the teams that we played earlier in the season before this playoff game that they had such a dynamic, dangerous quarterback fullback duo that literally your game or your heart was in your throat the entire time. Loved it.
Gosh, man, we're all itching for some high school football, and we're crossing our fingers it gets to happen. But in the meantime, what concept are you going to take us through for some chalk?
Yeah, actually, I'm going to move my computer on the table here.
Perfect.
Because we're doing the mobile learning with my students, we have I have my whiteboard here. Can you see that okay?
Yep.
Fantastic. So I'm going to take you through this fairly easy. We're a spread offense, and my favorite play, our meat and potatoes, is inside zone. And I know not everyone blocks it the same, but if we're going to take this here, we're reading. We call this formation bar. I really try to simplify it for our players. I know when I was a player in high school and college, I didn't know why the H was here, the Y was here, the X was here. The Z didn't make sense to me. So we actually, I'm gonna change this up a little bit. How I name our backfield and our receivers is this is our L, this is our R for our wide receivers. Now we go our rock formation. That's tight end right. Load is tight end left. Then we just go A for our slot, B for our back, and C. So this is bar, back at right, bar 51. What we have here is we're reading this backside DN. Now, so far, 90% of the time, that's who you read. If we have a team that doesn't have a stud DN and maybe is someone that we can take advantage of with our inside zone, we'll actually block him and read the play side or backside tackle. So he's the one. So for this drawing right here, so we're reading here, we want to have our quarterback, his number one job is to force our running back downhill. Even sometimes the most violent running backs, in my opinion, if they see daylight, they want to go there. And sometimes that's a detriment to where we want them to go. So we want him to wall off at a 45-degree angle, and that does two things. One, it forces the running back downhill, doesn't let him bounce it outside. And two, it puts him in position to literally look down that DN and see him eye to eye. And the rule for the quarterback is give unless. That DN's a hard contain, we're giving it. He comes at a 45-degree angle right at them, he's giving it. If his downfield shoulder crashes, so he's coming down hard, we want to ride as long as we can and then go from there. So the blocking up front, we have for our combo blocking, that backside tackle and guard, we have a tag, tackle and guard. And they're responsible for these two guys here. Center and our guard on the one technique have a cog, center and guard. Chances are, depending on where the backer goes, the center is going to go off and get him here. And then our play side tackle just tries to seal or wall off the end. It's important for the inside zone. One of the reasons I love it is because I know I'm guilty of this as a player, is you take certain plays off. If I'm a backside tight end and I know we're going toss left or toss right away from me, we can get a little bit lazy. Really stressing to all these guys that no one, except the quarterback, knows who's getting the ball. He's the one really reading. So we're having our slot here go POA, point of attack, and try to get across his face. The L in the backside wide receiver is going POA, and once again expecting with his head in a swivel, this guy's going to start coming over, pick him up if he's a stud. The rule was, again, the running back, we want to hit the hole and then bounce across. The flow of the defense is all going this way, so we want to bang and then cut across. If there's nothing here, we tell them to bang or bend and cut back here. Now, we'll run this two different ways. We've run it with motion before, but just for now, we'll have our corner, or I'm sorry, our C, our slot, take a three step on the ball of his feet, read step here. So we're isolating his backer. If that tight end or D end rather crashes, the quarterback knows that he's the second read. And quarterbacks have bad tendency sometimes of once they've ridden that ball and they decide to pull, if that D end crashes, kind of rounding it out. Well, we're slowing down from where we're trying to get to. We teach him to replace the heels of that defensive end. Once he's replacing the heels here, now keep in mind the defensive end's gone. Our second read becomes his backer. We can bowl the slot here, but we typically, depending on how good his hands are, we'll just have him take those read steps. And then now what we'll hear from the quarterback is keep unless. We've already told you to give unless. Once you've kept the ball now, just go get some positive yards. If this backer for some reason attacks hard here, and maybe he does because we're successful on pitching that to him once, then the quarterback will keep it up here. The only guy I didn't talk about yet is the right wide receiver, RR. Depending on our prep for the week, if we feel like this guy's pressing or he's a stud, he's a real physical kid, we're going to just go try to log him, go where he is. If he tends to vacate real quick and get out there, then we'll send him on a quick fade to the outside. And I've got coaches. I'm the offensive coordinator for our team also. So I'll get someone with eyes in the box telling me if we can take advantage of this here and kind of hit that. Something I would really give my quarterback a heads up prior to that play. One of the reasons I love the inside zone, and I'm a firm believer that every offensive play is designed to score, and every defensive coordinator has a formation designed to stop it. So it is truly all about the players we have in place, how well we coach them. But the reason I love this is because I think so often, football is a numbers game, not just a game of inches, but a game of personnel. And I'm not just talking about whether or not they load the box or not, but in a lot of offenses, the quarterback hands the ball off and they're done. By really having that ride, that mesh, it allows it to be 11 on 11. Freezes the backer or safety for a second, maybe a second and a half. And when most football plays are 3 to 4 seconds long, that's a long time. So that's our meat and potato. That's my favorite play is inside zone, because I think from this you can do so much, and we can run this out of every formation. We'll run this out of double tight. We'll run this out of our pistol formation. We'll run it out of trips, which is our trips to the right, trios to our left. Any questions on that or any thoughts?
No, I think it's interesting. I've seen a lot of zone. I mean, Buddy Stevens went through zone. I had Oakdale High School out in Maryland. They won the 2018 state championship out there. He took me through zone. And I think one other guest recently took me through theirs. And they all have different variations. Someone will bubble the slot, and someone will, there's a lot of, run pass RPO stuff that people will do out of it. And I like how you pop back your slot and make him as like a little, triple option out of it almost. And I think it's just interesting to see the different ways that people run it. And I was going to ask you, like, you've seen all these different variations as well. Like, how has it changed? Because it's your bread and butter, but I know a lot of different offenses. Like, I don't know if you know Coach Murphy at Clayton Valley High School up in Northern California. He does like a shotgun wing thing. He used to do the double tight, double wing, and now it's in the shotgun. A lot of the same plays, but it looks different, and he can do different things out of it. How has your inside zone changed at all, if any?
I think, for me, I love that question. I was a horrible head coach my first 2 years. I really was. And I think most of us, we look at our marriages or where we doing work, think about where we are now compared to where we were. Our playbooks when I was first time head coach in New Hampshire were this thick. We ran it all, and we ran it all horribly, and it wasn't the kids' fault. It's just I tried to do way too much, throw everything at them. Who I played in college with, his father spoke at a clinic one time, and he talked about golf. And he said, all these golfers carry around 14, 15 clubs, but they have the 3 or 4 that just fit right in their hand. Those are their go-to clubs. And it was an analogy. I'm not a golfer, but it made perfect sense, where instead of having a playbook this thick, let's narrow that down a quarter of the size and really get great at running a few things. You mentioned as far as how it's changed for me. I used to just kind of run it out of that bar of ball look, and we'll go into pistol now. So I think our C. If I go pistol right, it's the exact same play. I'll go bar or pistol right 51. That's our inside zone 51. So he does the exact same thing. Nothing. The only thing that changes is once the quarterback holds it, and he's still going to the heels of that defensive end where that DN was. He now just stays in pitch relationship here the entire way. So if our quarterbacks don't trust the process and they're timid and they try to fan this out, well, the back is going to force that to go wider, and we're going to be running a lot from sideline to sideline, not getting any first downs. So really getting that quarterback to trust himself and trust the process, to stay tight. And then even if this back comes in somehow, if our tackle can't get him, if he's got two guys on him, he's optioning that out, and it's gone. So like I said, I just, what's changed for me is taking the same play and running it out of every formation we have. And I absolutely love it. Absolutely. Yeah. And I also believe, you mentioned different coaches. I do believe I have certain defenses I like above others, depending on who we're playing. But I'm a firm believer that if the staff is all cohesive, they all agree, and they sell and share that message with the players. I mean, look at the NFL. You can run with huddling up every play. You can run and be successful with no huddle offense. You can, as long as there's buy-in from the person who's selling it, you can be successful.
Yeah, we're Niners fans out here, and we run the ball.
Let me log off here.
Yeah, I know. Cowboys, Niners guys. I don't know how this is working out, but we, like you're saying, we go to the Super Bowl and we're running the ball 45, 50 times a game, and we play against Pat Mahomes, and that's obviously a very different style. So we know that in football, right? Like you can do things very differently and still be successful. The biggest thing is, like you said, you got to have good players and you got to coach well. How would you describe Coronado football, and how does Coronado football reflect you and vice versa? Like, what is, if I were to come watch a game on a Friday night, how would you describe your team?
Small, scrappy, and hungry. We, the interesting dynamic about Coronado, and I've never had this before, and it's a great challenge. It's something I've prayed for, and it's a blessing to be there. One of those challenges with the naval base is 2 years ago, our starting quarterback, who was a good quarterback, a ridiculous safety, the kid could just light people up. He was there his junior year, a starting quarterback, starting safety, and then father got transferred, and he's gone. So it's an interesting challenge as we create the culture, and we're rebuilding the culture of not just getting the kids to buy in that have been there since freshman year, sophomore year, but those new kids that come in. And some years it's one or two kids, some years it might be 5 or 7, but realizing that you have to I hate, I'm going to say simplify. I almost said dumb it down. Our players are smart, but I want to simplify our offense as much as we can. So if you have someone that comes in that is a stud athlete, you don't have to say, hey, in 2 or 3 years he's going to be great, because he may only be there for 1 year. So we're typically not we don't have a lot of real big kids yet, but I'm a firm believer in the power of off-season strength and conditioning. I've always, my 22 years, been that coach for each of the programs I've coached with. And I do it not just because I love working out with the guys, but that's where you have more time to really connect with them and build those relationships. Because probably like when you coached, and probably like almost every program in the United States, when we're in season, our practice schedule is down to the minute. We've got 5 minutes for this, 7 minutes for that, 15 for this. So when we do the strength and conditioning in the off season, I think that helps so much to create a culture. Still to this day, the best football player I've ever coached, 165-pound kid that was adopted from South Korea. He had a freak of nature, speed, strength, hands, athleticism. He had the intangibles. He was coachable, likable. He just everything about himself. Big kids are great. Everyone loves big, strong kids, and I wouldn't mind more of them. But I think so much of football and life is just right here and right here. If you have that why, that strong passion and desire, and you have that no-quit mentality, you're going to upset a lot of bigger teams.
Yeah. How are you leading your team strength and conditioning wise during this shelter in place?
It's tough, because like most of us throughout the country, we cannot be with our players. So I'll share different videos, different things on Twitter, on our Instagram page, on Facebook. We had a coach's Zoom meeting a few weeks back, and I assigned each coach certain players to just keep in touch with them. But one of the first things I told my coaches was, I don't want your first conversation to even mention the word football. Let's really practice what we preach and just talk about how are you as a person? How are you doing? How's your family doing? Because for some of us, and right now my wife and I are blessed to be in this situation, this quarantine is just a horrible inconvenience. And what I mean by that is we have our health, we have our jobs. It's inconvenient. For some people who have lost their livelihoods and everything else and have lost loved ones, it's very different. So, still continuing to connect with them through social media, through phone calls, text messages, and then eventually diving into the fact that I've shared, it'll be heartbreaking for all of us if we don't have a season. But almost as heartbreaking, or even more so for certain players, is if we do have a season and they spend the entire time not working out, not training themselves. So, not everyone has weights at home, and I get that, but there's always stuff you can do.
Yeah. I've heard pick up your gas can, pick up some paint, pick up, there's all sorts, like you're saying, you kind of think at some point like, oh, wow, I could have been doing this before. I kept holding out for the new kettlebell or the dumbbell set, when the reality is we probably could have been getting a lot of work done in the past in our own little home garage gyms with the stuff we have lying around. And so it's good. But hey, man, I appreciate you coming on. That was really fun. Like I said, keep making a big impact, because you are. And even though you'll hear people chirping from now and then, just know that you're doing good work, and we'll talk to you again soon.
You're awesome. I appreciate it. And the last thing I'll share, Brock, is that's actually our son's name is Brock.
I love it.
It's actually,
let's go.
Brock, his full name the real name is Brockton, but we call him Brock. But after Brock Marion, who played for the Cowboys years ago.
Oh, I do remember Brock Marion. Yeah. We are having our first boy in 2 months, a little less than 2 months. Yeah, thanks. And Brock is not in the running, although I do think it is. I'm totally partial. I think it's the best name out there. I think it's awesome, but we're keeping it creative.
Kurt's a great name, so I won't keep you. But where do you guys live?
We live in Northern California, a little town called Martinez, near Concord area, and our company is based in Concord, and we have reps all across the country though. So I've been down to San Diego quite a bit, and man, if maybe one day we'll live there. I don't know. Like I said, in Coronado, and Chula Vista is a cool little area too. We went to a wedding in Chula Vista last year, so we love San Diego, and it's cool that you got that gig there. Good thing you had. Was it your daughter or son who went to San Diego State or a school out there?
Our oldest daughter, and then we would come out and visit, and you can't not love Southern California. But like I said, our entire life, everyone we knew was back in New Hampshire. Then when we had our grandson, we had prayed about it, and we prayed about it because we pray about everything, but we knew we didn't want to be Skype grandparents. Like, this is great for you and I, but it's not the same as grandson. So we came out here, and now all 4 of our kids are out here. We're all within 15 minutes. And, life is good.
That's awesome, man. Well, stay safe during all this, and we'll catch up down the road. And, appreciate it, dude.
Appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.